You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete Signal Transmission Trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Hi, this is Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Good evening, good afternoon, whoever you may be, wherever you may be. And I mean that. This is Safety Wars for Thursday, September 11th, 2025. Also known as Patriot Day. 24 years ago today. You know what happened. We're still feeling the repercussions. We remember what happened on September 12th, too, when we were all unified in this country, too. Unified like we hadn't been in many, many, many decades. Since probably World War II. The J-Day, my father had referred to it. Victory over Japan. So, we're going to comment on that. Also going to comment on September 11th. If you're watching the video portion, OSHA, at the end of the program, we will be showing the OSHA that was posted on the OSHA website, which shows all the fatalities in the mural. So it's an open public record. It's not copyrighted, so we're going to be showing that. Let me turn down the music here. Where do I begin? let's start with Charlie Kirk. Regardless of how, what, or if you agreed with him, disagreed with him, hated him, loved him, or indifferent to him, you cannot deny that he was an influential person. And as I did last night, I'm going to call for an end to this political violence. I had an associate, Reed Buckley. He was I'm not name dropping here because it's relevant to the discussion here. And what my experience with him was, he ran a school for young professionals, young, but basically, young at heart. And the Buckley School down in South Carolina, Salem, I believe it was, South Carolina. Could be wrong on the town. And I went to one of his programs, and I got to know him a little bit. He was the brother of William F. Buckley from the National Review. And the reason why he formed the school, in part, was the chemical plant, Bhopal in Bhopal, India, in the 1980s that had a release and killed tens of thousands of people, from what I remember. I don't have the exact number. And what he said was real simple to me. He said a lot of things to me. One of them was when I took his class and spoke to him on the phone. He said, your problem is that you think that people think the way you think, right? Number one. This is many years ago. Number one. Number two, people really don't care what you think. Number two. Number three, and he said not only for you, it's for everybody. Number three is this. You have to learn to become persuasive and debate and discuss. Charlie Kirk, who was a college, did not complete college. There was some varying reports out there, whether he went one semester or a year or a couple of years. There's varying reports. I'm not exact. It's not germane. It's irrelevant. He might have gone and seen Reed Buckley, or at least read a lot of the books. And he was not the only one who preached this, right? It's an art to discuss with people, and I've gotten better over the years. You have to have, as Jay Allen says, a connection. Right, in the Safety Transmission Trilogy, you have to have a connection with people. What was Charlie Kirk able to do? He was able to make a connection, even with his enemies, quote-unquote enemies. And I don't mean that they're enemies, or no, fighting, but enemies being opponents, people who didn't agree with him. He was able to make a connection with them. And that's what you need to do, is make a connection. Now, the thing is, if you are with someone and you are not making a connection with them, you're not agreeing with them, that does not give you license for bad behavior, including the violence that we saw yesterday. And as of late, one of them was, we've had numbers of politicians on both sides of the aisle have political attacks. You can go look them up. I'm going to forget someone, so I'm not naming them because I'll forget. Well, what about this? What about this? Okay, great. But what the point is here, both sides, they got to learn to be persuasive. Back when I was involved politically, and one of the reasons why I left politics was I saw where this was going with this vitriol, this hatred went way back. And there's a lot of reasons why. And as we know through our human and organizational performance, principles, blame fixes nothing. So I'm not here to blame people, but I'm here to give you a little bit of context. Context drives behavior. The reason why we are in the situation we are, one of the reasons, is what we've gone over here over the years. Rule, and you can go look it up. Rules for Radicals. Maybe I need to do another presentation on that by Saul Alinsky. And Saul Alinsky was a community organizer in Chicago during the 1950s and 60s, and he wrote a book. Wrote a book, Rules for Radicals. The former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, did her senior project when she was in college with him, got to know him a little bit. They're from the same geographic area of Illinois, right, Chicago, with that. And they got to know each other and everything else. One of the things that's in there, one of the rules for radicals is ridicule, right? Is ridicule. And the left in this country took those 13 rules for radicals, they ran with the ball. And that's what was being done for years and years and years. The conservatives were on the other end, where they were not even arguing. They were not even confronting. They just let themselves be steamrolled. So what happened? This went on, and you also had in talk radio, the fairness doctrine, you had a lot of people in the news media in general that, you had Walter Cronkite, who was right down the middle, at least when he was on the air. You had people like Johnny Carson, right down the middle while he was on the air. In private, different story. And what ended up happening was conservatives and Republicans got more and more frustrated. It got to the point where you had people, just got to the point where frustration doesn't seem to go. And the left came up with a nice script, right? Or the Democrats came up with a nice script. Accusatory things, and you could go back, you know what it is, if you're, right? Then what happened, flipped the script in 1988. I believe the other year was 1978. No, not with the, after Star Wars in 70. No, not that. You had a young person who got elected to Congress by the name of Newt Gingrich. And in Congress, if you've ever been there, like I was there a couple weeks ago, you had what is called special order speeches, where it's after hours, people just want to get stuff into the public record. And you had C-SPAN that was playing there, right, on the air. And between the two of them, C-SPAN and Newt Gingrich, right? C-SPAN was always broadcasting special order speeches. And I would watch them back in the day, before the internet. And just get on the record. And you also had the advent of what was called VCR. And we had Betamax then. So people started to record this stuff. And Gingrich would go and record this stuff, his special order speeches, and him being a college professor would go and blah, 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 go through the whole thing. And they got hundreds of hours of this stuff, so I'm told. And when he went for a re-election, they would have watch parties. So fundraisers and everything. Hey, did you see our congressperson there? And here, and these became the venue, the technique of educating your constituency. Right? Because it's not a big secret here. I'm not telling a big political secret. We have a 4-year cycle. So you have what we'll assume presidential cycle is the 4th, right? Someone gets elected. But right after that, you have year 1, and we're in year 1 right now, where you're supposed to educate the voter. And this is what Charlie Kirk did, educate the voter. Then you go to number 2. Year 2, you run some candidates, but you still educate your voter. You find out and you try to build a team. And then year 3 comes, and you find out where you're successful, what you were not successful, what your constituency wants to hear, what your constituency doesn't want to hear, and everything. If you're successful, why you're successful. If you failed, why you failed, what you need to work on, things of that nature. Right? So that's year 3. And then year 4, presidential election, then you run your candidates and you run the campaigns and everything else. And what the right had done was they went and they let other people educate their constituency. This went on until 1988, another key year, 1988, where you had the fairness doctrine, right, had gone away, and you had the rise of Morton Downey Jr., you had the rise of Rush Limbaugh, and you had, in the New York area, you had Bob Grant, and all these other people who were now allowed to educate. And they would go through and they educate again and again. And what happened was, Limbaugh was made a thing, educate your electorate, and this went on. And then in 1992, right, you had another person come into the whole thing, Ross Perot. He came in, talked very simply, like we tried to do here, had little cue cards and little cards and diagrams. He would hold them and explain to people. There's still a lot of his points are still pertinent today. They're able to split the Republican vote, and then Bill Clinton came in for 2 terms. People were so upset that this happened that in 1994, Republicans, for the first time in 40 years, took back the House of Representatives, and for the first time since 1987, they had a majority in the U.S. Senate, but before that, it was going back decades since they had a majority, and they never learned how to not be in the majority. And then what happened? Rules for radicals started to be slowly turned around on the libs, on the left wing in the country, and then it amped up the rhetoric again and again. And then what happens? Rhetoric got ramped up on the other side. And then 2000, you had the whole thing with the contested election, hanging chads and everything else. And then voter thing, we all know what happened in 2001. We're going to be talking about that in a minute. And this went on and on and on. When I got involved in politics, which was in February 2010, we, January 2000 to February 2010, I learned I'm a science guy. I was taught environmental science, stoicism, even though I didn't know what it was called then. And I said, it was frustrating because, again, especially New Jersey, Metro New Jersey area, New York City area, very, very Democrat leaning. So what ended up happening was, how do you respond to this stuff? Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, ridicule. Can't do anything about ridicule. And you go through all 13 of them, right? And there's a lot of strategy in there. Republicans lost in 2008, right? Then 2012. And then what happened was you had Donald Trump come in. Donald Trump then, somebody on his campaign, he ran briefly in 2012, he put out feelers. But in 2016, somebody put it out, hey, rules for radicals. And now the shoe was on the other foot, so to speak. And at around that time, that's when you had the rise of the Tea Party movement in 2009, which was really an anti-tax movement that was hijacked eventually by the establishment. And that's still in the news, by the way, because there was a lawsuit. The person who was given in the IRS who gave problems in the Tea Party was fired this week. Took him long enough, but I digress. I don't want to get off the subject. And ever since then, right? Ever since then, it's been rules for radicals. Some people say it's warranted, some say not, but at a certain point, we have to have a dialogue. That doesn't include screaming and yelling and name calling and everything else. You have to have a dialogue. I'm saying don't let the politicians have the dialogue. The person in that mirror in the morning that you look at when you're shaving, like I did today, or brushing your teeth, has got to be the person to have that dialogue. Charlie Kirk went up and tried to have that dialogue. It's very effective. And he went to what he considered enemy territory, the college campuses, where it was easy to have a dialogue. And I pointed this out many years ago. College, I went through two very liberal programs, environmental studies at Stockton and NJIT, environmental policy studies, master's degree. Very liberal, extremely left universities, Stockton even them days, and it's supposed to be worse today. By the way, there was a shooting there today, right outside of campus. They are on lockdown, last I heard. But very frustrating when you don't have that dialogue. You don't have those talking points or anything or an idea or feel supported and you feel alone when you don't necessarily believe the professors or anything else that you're given. And that's a long journey how I got to where I am today. We're not going to go into it. And as it's not about me, it's about the rhetoric in here. I'll say I'm extremely disappointed by a lot of people that I know that are gleeful that this happened to Charlie Kirk. Just let it be known, it's noted. It's duly noted here that you're happy about this. I'm not happy when any of this happens. Got to work for peace. And that's what I'm going to tell you. That's how I'm going to end up. Be peaceful. Work for peace. Work for harmony. Work for a dialogue here. Now, the other thing is this. My mother had a saying, and as most mothers do, if it feels good, doesn't mean that you should do it. It feels good to win an argument sometimes. Oh, yeah, it feels good. Feels good sometimes to knock people down in the midst of that argument. Yeah, I'm going to tell you. But if it feels good, should you necessarily do it? How about empathy and compassion? How about making a connection with someone? How about doing what Reed Buckley told me, which was try to be persuasive and learn to be persuasive? And on the left, you had the same type of philosophy. Jerry Spence in his classic book, How to Argue and Win, right? I was on the phone with his organization about a year ago at a seminar series. It was only for attorneys. I said, look, I'm not an attorney, but I'd like to attend. And they said, oh, you can't do that. Oh, okay, too bad. You know, you're not going to take money from me? Really? But how to argue and win, right? Where you have to be persuasive and you have to appeal to the person's emotions. Logic doesn't always happen. Now, going on, and this is a segue into something else. We talked about last week an article on Vox from back in June 19th that I read on the air, where the former head of the NIH had said NIH has lost credibility because of the way COVID was managed and a lot of the things, instructions and everything. And he brought up a thing where, as a scientist and as a safety professional, or as somebody who's just coming into the whole political discussion, right, is this. you think that your facts are going to move people. Your facts are not going to move people. Not going to happen. You have to have that connection. You got to have credibility. So my wife and I don't always agree. I'll let you in a little thing, right? I don't like to talk about my personal life. My wife and I don't always agree. On things. But we make it a point with our children when we have a disagreement that we discuss it civilly. And we've had discussions on all different kinds of things that we don't agree with. Thankfully, we agree on 95% of this stuff. 5% we don't agree on. And they're like, well, you're having an argument. No, we're having a civil discussion. And that's what you need to do, is have a civil discussion. Teach the children how to have a civil discussion. This is not professional wrestling every day out there. And that's what I want to say today on that. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. If you believe in prayer, say a prayer for his family. And I'm going to say this, say a prayer for us, the United States of America, that we could go and people of goodwill seek leadership positions and show the way out of this mess. The world has a deep desire for leaders here. And that's what we're dedicated for, is raising up that next generation of leaders, the next generation of scientists, the next generation of theologians. And if I can end with a quote from Muhammad Ali. Yes, Muhammad Ali. God doesn't care, Republican, and I'm going to modify it a little bit to fit this situation. God doesn't care about Republican or Democrat. God doesn't care about right wing or left wing. What God cares about is your relationship with God, right? Number one. Number two, how you treat your fellow human being. And I'm going to dedicate whatever little influence I have here, or the influence here of Safety FM and Safety Wars, honing in on our 500th program, to spread peace, to spread understanding. So when I meet God, I can see God face to face. And if there is a heaven, I hope to go to heaven on this. And that's where we need to be, is treat each other. Treat each other with humility. Treat each other with respect. Treat each other with love. Brother, right? Christian love. I know you could do it. If you're listening here, I know you could do it. And that's all I'm going to say. We're going to go to commercial break, and then we will be back.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
I don't think people understand the true cost of negligence in construction. A suburban Madison contractor with a deadly track record is in hot water again. Already cited for fatal safety violations in 2022, the company was caught exposing workers to deadly fall hazards in February 2024. During a federal inspection, 6 employees were found working 12 feet up without protective gear. OSHA slapped them with 1 willful, 2 repeat, and 5 serious violations, proposing $144,505 in fines. Just 4 months ago, OSHA found similar hazards at another site, leading to more citations. Back in 2022, a worker was crushed by a 1,000-pound wall. The company was cited for 11 violations and has been a deadbeat and hasn't paid any of the penalties. OSHA's Chad Greenwood stated, "The company shows a blatant disregard for worker safety. Stay informed and stay safe. Visit safetywars.com. Listen to us on your favorite podcast platform as Safety Wars."
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy!
We are back. This is Safety Wars for Thursday, September 11th, 2025, 24 years after that fateful day. We're going to have a discussion here. And by the way, I really meant what I said the last segment. We have to make it here. We have to get it. So September 11th, 2001. Was a Tuesday. Strangely enough, I was living in Hoboken, New Jersey, and I'm in them days we used to work from home. I was working from home. I was on the 3rd floor apartment on Grand Street. Long story short, I used to listen to 99.1 WBAI, Pacifica Radio International. And the host, I believe, was A.B. Goodwin. I don't know if she's retired or not. I used to like to listen to the other side, more or less. And so before it came over the air, a small airplane had hit one of the World Trade Center towers. And I said, that's wow. So I put on TV. I had a combination little 13-inch TV that had a VCR built in. So I said, you know what? This is going to be a historic day. Let me put in the videotape. And I have all the news reports. Even the ones where Tower 7 was announced that it had fallen before it had fallen. Yeah. That actually did happen. So, watch, now my house is going to be raided, looking for that videotape. So, and then I turn on the TV, and just then, the second plane hits. And I said, holy no, this is a terrorist attack. So I said, let me go up to the roof of my building. And I go up to the roof of the building, and every building going down the line, right, had people on the roof, and we were watching this. Some people had out video cameras recording it and everything else, and our lives changed that day. Then, the aftermath. What was the aftermath? The official deaths from the World Trade Center, 2,753 deaths. Pentagon, 184 deaths, 125 in the building, plus the 59 passengers and crew. Total that day, including Shanksville, and excluding the 19 hijackers, 2,977. But that only tells half the story, right? And at this point, numerically, it is less than half the story. That's from 9/11 related illnesses. The World Trade Center Health Program and the CDC and NIOSH reports cumulative decreased members among the enrollees and clarifies that those not track cause of death. So not all are certified as 9/11 related. So it was close to 7,000 diseases as of March 31st, 2024. CDC's quarterly summary reiterates that disease counts include all causes, not just 9/11 related. Recent reporting citing World Trade Center Health Program figures say over 8,200 enrollees have died, and 37 of those deaths involve cancer. How many are projected to die from World Trade Center dust? This is where it gets a little bit dicey. All right. So basically, what they're looking at is, and no, you have people dying from normal things. They're looking at somewhere above 8,200 currently, but what we're looking at is somewhere probably around 13,000, 14,000, and everyone said, everywhere I looked, it says, don't quote us on that. It may be, and it may not. It's impossible to tell. So you have all these deaths, right? Not only from the collapse, you have the aftermath. And what are they covered by? Right? Because these are very expensive things to, very expensive to manage here. Here, I have the, right here. Now, this is off of Wikipedia here. So you had in 2010 the James Zadroga 9/11 Health and Compensation Act. It's a U.S. law to provide health monitoring and aid to first responders, volunteers, and survivors of the September 11th attacks. If you live up in the Northeast, you're getting bombarded with constant commercials from attorneys on this stuff to file a claim. It's named after James Zadroga, a New York Police Department officer whose death was linked to exposures from World Trade Center disaster. The law funds and establishes a health program to provide medical treatment for responders and survivors who experience or may have experienced health complications. Right? And it was signed by President Obama at the beginning of 2011. The bill subsequently reauthorized in 2015 with coverage extended to 2090. The current bill was sponsored by Kirsten Gillibrand and Representative Carolyn Maloney and signed into law by President Donald Trump. So they set up this this act, which is what they should have. Now, here we have, and this is from theguardian.com. This article is more than 9 years old. Yeah, I know. What was the date of this article? I believe it was 2016. This article came out. All right. Saturday, the 10th of September, 2016. Former EPA head admits she was wrong to tell the New Yorkers supposed 911 air was safe. I'm going to say this, not in the article. There's going to be commentary on this. Here, so I'll give her this much. She apologized. Christine Todd Whitman, who reassured the public over Ground Zero Air, said, "I'm sorry. We did the very best we could with the knowledge we had." Not true. My former mentor, Jeff Olcott, rest in peace, was one of the ones of three that I know, him included in the three, that told Christine Todd Whitman of the dangers in the air, what they should be doing about it, and how it wasn't safe. He was a certified industrial hygienist. He was ignored. The two other people that I know have subsequently retired and they don't want to even remember it, and they're still frustrated on it. All right, so Christine Todd, and they had told her too. So we got one I can definitely verify. The other two that are denying, but in the past, when it happened, they said they did. But one I know absolutely did. So this was a lie here. And the other thing is this is why it's important that you have the reason why they weren't believed could have been anything, but what it is no connection. He did not have a connection. Safety people have to have connections with this, with their people that are trying to protect. This way you have credibility and people will listen to you. Credibility, now you could go, like in our leadership program, you could go again and again and again and again and be successful again and again. But if you don't have that connection, being successful does not mean anything. That's what reality is. That's life. And you're always going to get it how I see it. So here's the article. Christine Todd Whitman, who as head of the EPA under George W. Bush at the time of the 9/11 attacks, told the public the air at Ground Zero in New York was safe to breathe, has admitted for the first time she was wrong. Among those who were exposed to toxin released from the World Trade Center collapse, the tolls illness continued to rise. Remember, this is 2016. Now this was her apology. Whitman made an unprecedented apology, to her credit. I'll give her that much. To those affected, but denied she ever lied about the air quality or known at the time it was dangerous. She was told, all right? Whatever we got wrong, we should acknowledge and people should be helped. Adding that she still feels awful. I'm very sorry that people are sick. I'm very sorry that people are dying. And if the EPA and I in any way contributing to that, I'm sorry we did the very best we could at the time with the knowledge we had. Every time it comes around to the anniversary, I cringe because I know people will bring up my name. They blame me. I don't blame her. Absolutely not. They said that I lied and that people died because I lied. They say people have died because I made a mistake. She wasn't the one calling the shots on the thing, number one, so you can't really blame her, number one. Number two is, since we're all human organizational professional, or human organizational performance specialists here on Safety FM, we could say that there was an incentive, there was a systemic issue, there were errors made there, and the system was not with that, right? She has always maintained, and this, I believe she's telling the truth here, that as head of the EPA, she was simply passing on what government scientists were telling her, warning those working at Ground Zero itself to wear respirators, but dismissing concerns over the surrounding area, which was engulfed in dust and ash. 3 days after the attacks, Whitman, who had previously been the Republican governor of New Jersey, told reporters the good news continues to be that air samples we have taken have all been at levels that cause no concern. So this happened on a Tuesday, and my friend Angelo, who used to rent equipment, right, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, he was out there and they started all the air monitoring using the EPA methodologies there starting on Sunday. So I don't know how they generated the data. That data's all out there. That data's all out there. You can look it up. But with all of the rental equipment and everything got set up and sampled on used starting that Sunday. Before that, they had what they had, right? And you have to do the best you can. In 2003, the EPA Inspector General criticized the agency handling of the crisis, finding that the EPA had no basis for swift pronouncements about air quality. Politicians, including then New York Senator Hillary Clinton, laid into Bush administration, accusing him of deceiving the public. More than 37,000 people registered World Trade Center Health Program, a federal organization set up in 2011 to oversee those affected by exposure to the toxins released at Ground Zero, have been declared sick. Many have chronic respiratory illnesses or cancer. And with that, right, it goes on here. Lists of health conditions and everything else. Whitman said, if people are dying from this, I have not seen the data, right? And they had believed everything was fine. Then you have got to blame the message that we were hearing, and that they were hearing was okay, that ambient air quality in Lower Manhattan at the time was okay. Gerald Nadler, a veteran U.S. congressman whose district covers the World Trade Center site, told The Guardian, again, this is 2016, told The Guardian on Thursday that Whitman had never admitted she had been wrong about the air quality. She knew or should have known. That's called constructive knowledge, by the way. In 2008, Nadler accused Whitman of causing thousands to suffer injury and, in some cases, death due to unnecessary exposure to toxins released by the collapse of the World Trade Center building. In a ruling in a lawsuit brought by New York City residents that year, a federal appeals court ruled that Whitman could not be held liable for health problems caused by the air at Ground Zero. Now, this is what my issue is here. Sovereign immunity. she has sovereign immunity. What if she didn't have sovereign immunity? There's another of these people have made the call. Perhaps then this might not have happened. The other thing is this. Fast forward 19 years later, 19 years later. If the people at the CDC and all the other people who were involved did not have sovereign immunity, would that have been managed differently? And would we have had 1.2 million deaths due to COVID? You see how important these things are, how they're linked? We're going to go on here. On Friday, Whitman questioned the level of proof that the air made people sick, but said, if this is a direct relation, we all screwed up. She thought this was right at the time. She said, but added, I can't believe the scientists may not have had all the information that they needed. We're going to prove that that's not true, right? We're going to talk about constructive knowledge here. We're going to talk about basic industrial hygiene here in a minute. On Friday, Whitman questioned the level of proof that the air made people sick, but said, if this is a direct relation, we all screwed up. She thought she was right at the time, she said, but added, I believe the scientists may not have had all the... All right, I just said it. Shortly after the attack on New York, Whitman said it was known that the asbestos, lead, and other toxins were in the wreckage of the Twin Towers. Hundreds of contaminants, perhaps thousands. Keep that in mind. As the city, under Mayor Rudy Giuliani, led the work at Ground Zero rather than the federal government, Whitman said she had no authority to enforce the recommended wearing of safety equipment. That is true. Out of her jurisdiction. Who did? OSHA. At the time, she said that beyond the pile in the surrounding neighborhoods and the rest of Manhattan, the air did not pose a public health hazard. Right? So, that's it. Now, we're going to do something here with this. Let me see. I have it right here. Let's do I have a little PowerPoint presentation here. Okay, not a lot of graphics or anything else, but we do. We have in industrial hygiene this. Chemical mixture interaction types. So we have with toxicology, and by the way, this goes back many years. First toxicologist recognized was Paracelsus, and he had an extremely long name. That's why they called him Paracelsus. I usually make a joke over it, but not today. I'm not in a joking mood. Chemical mixture, right? So here we have. So you have from one, right? It's easy. We have exposure limits for one toxin, very few toxins out there. Very few, something like 1,100, something like, I don't know the exact number. Don't quote me on that. So 900 to 1,100 PELs and RELs and TLVs and everything else. But there are many different things out there that, many different hundreds, thousands, right? And now you're dealing with a chemical mixture, and if they all impact the same organs, now you have to go and start doing some fancy calculations. So these are the standard, and again, I'm not a toxicologist, but I do know something about toxicology. You have a couple of different types of effects, and this is the one that we use here, the additive effect. And there is the total effect equals the sum of each chemical's effect. So, for example, two solvents causing dizziness add up to more dizziness. Think of it like 1 + 1 = 2. Then you have a synergistic effect. That's the name of an industrial hygiene magazine, the Synergist, right? The combined effect is greater than the sum of the parts. So alcohol plus sedatives equals severe breathing depression, right? Formula 1 + 1 is greater than 2, right? So you have 1 alcohol, now you have sedatives, 1. You put them together and the effect is greater. Then you have what is called the antagonistic effect. That means that one chemical reduces or cancels out the effect of another. So, for example, naloxone blocks opioid effects. You have a poison and you have an antidote. Then you have a potentiation. That means a non-toxic substance makes another chemical more harmful. So, for example, isopropanol enhances carbon tetrachloride liver toxicity. And you know what? I did not do a share screen on here. So, real quick, right? That's the additive effect, synergistic effect. You can pause that. Antagonistic effect. There you go. And you have potentiation. And then you have an independent effect where each chemical acts on a different parts of the body without interaction. So one irritates the skin, another affects the lungs. Formula, separate effects, right? And those are the basic industrial hygiene. Now, out of all of these, we have to go by what is called the additive effect. Why? Easy math. Basically, that's what I was told. Easy math. And that's what, and you look in the OSHA regulations, the ACGIH biological exposure index, and all that other stuff. And it tells you use this formula and they assume additive effect. So what does this mean? Let's say that you have two chemicals put together with the additive effect. Now the exposure, assuming the same target organ, World Trade Center, lungs, target organ, central nervous system, you have the same target organ. Now you can only be exposed to less. You start to add that into the hundreds of things in smoke. And from what I recall, there is a profile for World Trade Center smoke into because every once in a while you still get stuff that's coming up. This is an issue. Into the thousands, right? From what I've recall, maybe it's hundreds. But it doesn't matter what the exact number is. Now your exposure limit gets smaller and smaller and smaller what you're allowed to be exposed to because your body can only filter out so much at a certain time. Well, Jim, this is all, this is all very complicated. Jim, I'm not interested in hearing the long history and all this stuff. Okay, great. You're not interested in this. Great, you're not. However, let's recall. When did the HAZWAVA regulations come out? Go ahead, come on. 1990, right? I don't have an exact date. Late 80s, under SARA Title III, right? Superfund reauthorization in 86. Then going on, you had directed everybody to come up with the regulations. Then you came up with 1910-120, and General Injuries, Hazardous Waste Operations, and Emergency Response. Then in 1998, you had the updated Respiratory Protection Standard, which had very little revision. They added assigned protection factors at a certain point, and then they added, changed that also. They're in the midst of changing all the other substance-specific regulations right now into the all one. That was like the only major change. So you're a worker in New York City. Right, the initial response everything's chaos. You can't really control that. You can control the ongoing response and recovery action. That you could control. The initial one was no. Mayhem, trauma, all those firefighters killed, all those EMTs killed, all those police killed, heroes. All right, mayhem, and then the quote-unquote fog of war. The horrors, we got that. But at a certain point, right, and people are still impacted psychologically from this, cooler heads have to prevail in a disaster, and you have to have, this is what it is. Now, when it's obvious you're not going to be, you're not going to have a recovery there. So again, not prepared. Number one. Number two, this industrial hygiene, this was going way back. All this has been well known for many years. EPA has toxicologists. OSHA has toxicologists. During an emergency response to disaster like this, OSHA moves into a consultant role. They were going down there suggesting people should wear respirators. No enforcement. Very little, if any, training. And this so for whatever reason, respirator protection rules were not enforced. For whatever reason, all this other stuff was going on with that, with a lot. You had a lot of stuff going on there. That's why people got exposed. That's the context that we're looking for. Blame her? I used to blame her. I don't blame her anymore. She was giving bad information. One of the other articles that were covered, her apology was that they were trying to look for normalcy with this. Right, that was the other thing, normalcy. So we had to get everybody back to work, get everything. Okay, there was with that. Now, my question is this: how did this impact the decisions made with how COVID was managed? Well, we tried to get people back to work. Now they got cancer. Now, and all this other stuff happened. Now, are we going to get people back to work? Right? How's that going to impact? Did that ever come into the calculus of this? That's probably a good question on this. But to say, now, this is what the reality is of the situation. Those firefighters received training, right, on this. A lot of the construction workers received training on respiratory protection. And the time since 9/11, thousands of people in this country received, hundreds of thousands, maybe in the millions, received respiratory protection training. Centers for Disease Control had, they're the ones who helped manage this stuff with approval of respirators, respiratory protection equipment. As a health and safety professional, where did we fail on this? As a profession. And I include myself in here. After this situation, did we get complacent? Right? I'm venting a little bit here. I understand that. But after that foul up on that, after the foul up with the anthrax cleanups and how those are managed, direct experience. Right? No one wants to talk about. I have NDAs out the wazoo, but that's all I'll say. After you had SARS, you had a whole bunch of other little pandemics and little situations coming up from 2001 up to COVID. We still get this one wrong. We still are not able to manage this stuff. We still don't have the credibility that we need as leaders in our community, as leaders in our workplace. And that's what we're dedicated here for. That's why Safety FM is dedicated, right? And I'm not speaking for the other hosts or Jay Allen, but that's one of the things that attracted me to Safety FM, is that we're dedicated to making the world a better place, to spread the word of safety, right? And we all have our different approaches. With me, it's fighting that safety war. And what is that safety war? Standing up for yourself, standing up for your family, standing up for your neighborhood, standing up for your community, standing up for the larger human race with health and safety. So maybe you have the knowledge to protect yourself. Maybe you have the knowledge to protect your neighbors, to protect everybody, and to be a productive member of society. And that is my message for today. Go out there, take what you learn from today and from tomorrow. Be peaceful. Be nonviolent. Be persuasive. Be knowledgeable. Be that person in your community that your community is proud to call you a member of that community. That's what we're here for. And we're going to do our best to help you from then on. For Safety Wars and the Safety FM network, This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars. We will see you tomorrow, God willing, or over the weekend. And we're going to, if I could ask everybody to please take a moment of silence. We're going to go then cut out on our outro, and then we will, with our national anthem, in honor of the victims and our survivors of September 11th, and for the recent, all of the people who have had violence visited upon them in the political realm. Democrat, Republican, Independent, what have you, even the stuff that doesn't get reported.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
If you're on the video cast, stay tuned. We have a video downloaded from the OSHA website on the victims of 9/11.
You got into the safety business because you wanted to protect people, but somewhere along the way, the job started controlling your time, your schedule, your priorities, even your income potential. What if the expertise you've built over the years in the field can give you something more? More freedom, more control, more ownership of your future. I'm Sheldon Primus, the author of 7 Steps to Starting a Profitable Safety Consulting Business and the host of the Safety Consultant Podcast, with more than 350 episodes helping safety professionals become consultants and grow their career. Consulting changed my life. In fact, I'm a full-time RVer, and one consulting contract paid for my home I live in today. Now, I help safety professionals build their own consulting practice through bi-weekly coaching calls, accountability, and personal guidance. But this program isn't for everyone. Start with the Consultant Readiness Audit at sheldon.coach.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all 3 books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.